Guys, welcome back to this channel and thanks for tuning in. For those who are new here, my name is Angela and nice to see you. So in this video today, I just wanted to share with you a little something about why I'm so grateful that I came back to Kenya from Qatar when I did, and for you to understand that everything happens for a reason and that our steps are ordered by God, especially for we believers. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please consider doing so by pressing the subscribe button that's right below this video. So yeah, as I mentioned before, I'm really truly grateful that I got to come back home when I did, because if I hadn't, I would have a lot of regrets right now, and of course I wouldn't have had the chance to spend my dad's last moments with him. So, and also to get that fatherly blessing, and because I mentioned on the previous video that the last month, like in July, we went home to visit him, and at that point he was a little bit stronger. He could talk, he could eat, so but he couldn't eat on his own because he was paralyzed on one side. So he was being fed by, you know, like liquids. He would be fed via a straw, and for of course food we would use a spoon or just the hand. And I got the courage actually, because it was really sad to see that a grown man cannot feed himself, cannot even sit up to be fed. He had to be fed lying down, but I gathered the courage and I got to feed him. I would give him his tea, I would give him Lucozade, I would give him whatever it is that my mom would tell me to give him. I would feed him fruits, and he would just open up his mouth and eat. But the most amazing thing that was happening when I was feeding him is that he would rock my hands like this. He would rock my hands like this, he would squeeze my hand, and sometimes just looking at him would make me tear up a little bit, because especially because I was feeding him as I was praying. So he would squeeze my hand, he would pat me like this. But when he was doing this, I knew that he was blessing me, thinking that this, my daughter has come down, like come seeing me like this, and she's feeding me. And I know that it was really breaking his heart that we, his children, were seeing him in that condition. So I am 100% sure that I received those last blessings. Although he couldn't talk much at that time, he wouldn't say a word, but he did say that he was happy to see us, and just by his actions and the fact that he always, like when you went to spend some time with him in the bedroom where he was lying, he would just want you to hold his hand. He would hold your hand for a long time. When he got tired, he would just like put it on this other side and then give it back to you to hold it. So that is something that if I was in Qatar, I would have missed. Essentially, when I started this whole immigration project, I knew I was projecting that by August this year I would either be done, or I would have saved up enough money for me to like now just go back home and finish the whole process and pick up my daughter and start my new life. But of course things don't always happen the way we think, but it is God that orders our steps, like I mentioned before, because I tried to resign 3 times, and the third time is when I was successful. The first time was in 2019 around May, and I gave an emergency resignation for some personal reasons that I really thank God that I got to change my mind. My boss at that time spoke to me and was like, really, do you want to give up everything? How are you going to be able to take care of your daughter if you quit your job? Are you having something stable that you'll be doing at home? So I changed my mind and I continued working for another for some time. And then when people started switching companies in Qatar, I thought, okay, why not give a resignation of 2 months and then look for a job? And then by the time I got this new job, I would have served my notice so that they would not deduct my final settlement. You know, that final settlement is usually really precious for anyone who has resigned, especially if you're working in Qatar, because it's usually a good amount. So again, my other boss at that time was like, unless you have a concrete job offer, I'm not going to release you, so I'm not going to accept your resignation. So he tore it up, and I thought, okay, I don't want to argue with him. And the truth of the matter is, indeed, I had not searched for a job, I had not found another job. So I thought, and that was in December 2020, so I thought, you know what, I am not even going to argue with him, let me just continue working. So I thought I would continue working, of course, until August this year. But I was doing my language tests and I wanted to finish every other thing in Qatar so that when I came back to Kenya, it would just be to pick up my daughter and leave. But it so happened, and even after praying and praying, that I did not pass. I did not get the points that I wanted to get in French. And at that point, my boss had told me that he was not going to give me another chance to go and take that test while I'm still in Qatar. So I thought, okay, the only option that I have would be to go back home. And I told God, why do I have to go back home at the end of March? Because at that point, to serve my 2 months notice, I think I got my results in January. So for me to have served my 2 months notice would be somewhere towards the end of March. So I thought, really, March, God, why do I have to go home at this time? And then I told myself, maybe later on, I would understand. I even tried, my boss again spoke to me and like, why won't you extend a little bit so that at least we will get time to train somebody else to take up your position? Then I accepted and I extended my resignation until May 31st. And I continued working, and then something happened, and deep inside my heart I knew I had to leave by the end of March. Like, I had to leave. So I changed again. I wrote a letter to the HR and I told them, no, you know what, I don't want to extend my resignation. I really need to leave by the end of March. I need to go home. Only to realize that it's like God was just waiting for me to get home before everything else would just fall apart. And I'm not blaming God, because it is his will. Sometimes it doesn't make any sense, because until now it really doesn't make any sense why my dad had to go. It makes no sense. But we just have to learn to accept the will of God, and maybe later on I will understand why he had to go when he had to go. So only a few days after I came home on the 2nd, spent some time with my family, and then my dad started being ill on the 14th. You see, just like almost immediately afterwards. And I saw him only once when he was well, but he was not actually well. He was weak. Then after I'd seen him, the following day he suffered a stroke. So God knew that I needed to be home with my family during that time, because at least I got to be with them, to hold their hand, because you know that we also lost my nephew just before my dad started getting ill. So you see, things happen when they happen. Sometimes we do not understand, but at least I got to understand why I needed to come back to Kenya at the end of March. And then something else that now made me understand that, yeah, it was better for me to have been home at that time is that my mom and my dad were the ones that were taking care of my daughter. She was living with them in our home in Busia. And now that my dad fell ill and had to be hospitalized indefinitely, meant that there was nobody at home to take care of my child. And it meant that either I had to move back home and stay there, but how would I be like staying at home when my mother is not there? So I just thought, I don't want to go and stay at home in the village. I wanted to stay in Nairobi, because there are some things that I needed to work on at that time, and traveling back and forth with the curfews would not have been possible. So of course I had to now take my daughter, find her a school in Nairobi, and get her settled in. And finding a school in Nairobi was, oh my God, an uphill task. We had to wake up every day, go to this school. Oh my God, it was a nightmare. And I don't think anyone else would have had the heart to hunt for schools the way I did. There are some things that you as a mother, or your own mother, they're the people that can do best. I mean, I could have let maybe my sisters take care of my daughter. It wouldn't have been a problem. But really the hassle that I went through to get her school, and also the amount of work that it takes to take care of a child, is something that I wouldn't have wanted to pin in on somebody else. Waking up in the morning or checking their homework and blah, especially since people have their own lives. So long story short, for these reasons, I'm really grateful that I was home in March, and that I got to spend those few last moments with my dad, and I got to be with my family to support them during the difficult time when my daddy was ill. and also that when he was called to be with the Lord, I was there, and again I was there to support my family, or we were there to support each other. Not that I was the one supporting other people, but we were able to support each other. So for somebody who's going through a tough time, or maybe they have to make decisions that are not very comfortable with them, I just would tell you to trust God and to trust in the process, and to really, so many things do not make sense in this life. So many things do not make sense, but nothing happens by accident. And if you give God a chance, and you just take your time, continue trusting God, inviting him into your situation, I think you would be able to overcome. The reason why I even have this strength, I don't know, like something happened. It's either that my mind has gone into that autopilot, and I cannot process the fact that my dad is not there. But even if I look at his photo, my mind is just blocked. I cannot comprehend, like I cannot process that this person is not there. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but maybe later on it will, I don't know. But God has come into the situation to strengthen me, to strengthen my family. And having a big family is really good. Having many siblings is really good, because we can all call each other, we can encourage each other, we can support each other, and we can support my mom. I'm imagining if my mom only had one child, wow, it could have been. But my mom has 6 children. And I'm just grateful to God. So you guys, thank you so much for your love, thank you for your support and the encouragement with my last video. I really appreciate it. And of course, continue to pray for me, because it's never really easy losing a parent, especially a parent that has always been present in your life and very supportive and very loving, giving you advice, always ready to do anything. Like whenever I would be stranded with anything, especially finances, I would know that, okay, I would try other means, but if I'm stranded, my dad would always come through for me. But maybe God just wants us to leave the nest so that we can grow, you know, like an eagle or something like that. But sometimes God makes situations a little bit uncomfortable so that we can learn to trust in God and not to totally depend on our father, our earthly father. So yeah, thank you so much. I just wanted to share with you guys this small piece, and I hope that you're having a wonderful day. And I just want to say that I want to start living life. Like I want to start like making videos again with my family, making videos with my daughter, something that I had stopped for a while. But I just want to try and enjoy life when I can, and just do things that will make me happy. And I think that it is going to be a very like important way of healing, just living and understanding that life is for the living, and giving my daughter the best that I can. Not to forget that when we were coming back from the funeral, we took a flight back. I paid for a flight for my child, and she was so happy. She was hugging me like over and over again. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, mommy, thank you for doing this for me. And that is something I cannot trade for anything. That look on her face and the fact that I was able to give her that experience, I wouldn't have done that if I was doing it from afar, or maybe okay, I sent money to somebody else to book her flight. It's not the same as when we are experiencing life together. So thank you so much guys for watching. Thank you for your love, your support, your prayers, and I will see you on another video probably tomorrow. I'm thinking of going somewhere and just making a fun video with my daughter and starting to live life, because it's like I stopped living for 4 months because it was just so scary. Every time a phone call would come in from my mom or from my sisters, would be like okay, until finally that phone call that we all dreaded came in, and I cried like a mad woman. I've never cried like that before, but it is well. Again, bye.